Greetings, everyone. Mr. Priz, or Priz, as they call me on SimAgri, the greatest game that you've never probably played. Welcome to another video tutorial. Today we're going to be working on market gardening. It's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite activities. Not a lot of people do it. So I thought I'd make a little video for how to get started, at least, or how to work your way through things in the market garden. Let's first take a look at my gardens. I have a lot of them. This is one of the funnest things about this is you have so many crop choices. I'm growing garlic. I'm growing the aubergine, which is eggplant. I've got carrots, celery. Courgette is zucchini. Corn salad is like a baby spinach type thing. Musk melons, Brussels sprouts, spinach, strawberries. I just started. I got green beans, cauliflower, leeks, lettuce, tomatoes, parsnips, some more broccoli, and pickles, which I guess is cucumbers. A lot of variety, If you've played, you've probably played, if you're watching this, you've played SimAgri. You know that your plots, say you're growing wheat and you plant it in the fall, and you're going to wait an interminable amount of time, like basically eight months or so about 2 real-life months before you're ready to harvest that. That's one of the things that makes market gardening fun. It's just like, look at my tomatoes here. This one I actually planted it in January, and they're ready to harvest in March. And unlike when you do your regular cultures like wheat and oats and barley, you can continue to harvest a lot of these. This harvest from March 1 all the way to December 1. So for 9 or 10 months, I'm actually harvesting the fruit that I'll take to market, or the vegetables that I'll take to market. Now there's 4 phases to this, so we'll go over them one at a time. You're going to start some of these things by seeds, maybe about half of them. The other half you actually start in your farm's greenhouse nursery. It's a little confusing. There's 2 types of greenhouse. There's the farm one, and then there's the market garden ones. Totally different, and they have totally different dynamics. So that's going to be the phase 1. Phase 2 is when you actually work your gardens. Phase 3 is when you package everything. And phase 4 is when you take it to market. So it's kind of a 4-step process. So first let's go over to the farm. I'm going to show you what I got going on here. I have this set up already. My default is my greenhouse nursery. This is where I actually grow my seedlings, and you can see I actually stockpile a lot of these. If you see my goods, my famous oversized pink cursor here, so you can see what's going on. I have this is all my seeds for planting in the market garden, but these are my seedlings that I've already grown. So I have a lot of these grown in advance. Some of these won't be used till next season. Like I can grow so many tomatoes, it's not funny. But basically, I kind of stockpile these. I can actually sell these on the open market if I want to. Helps other market gardeners if they forgot to grow seedlings or they don't know how the greenhouse nursery works. And one of the things that's odd about the greenhouse nursery, you'll notice that filling says 88%. This is what you want to shoot for. This is based on a 200 meter capacity. If you did it for 100, this should be 44. If you did it for 50, this should be 22. Very confusing. Took me a while to figure it out. I've seen people asking the forums on it. I'm going to show you what goes on in here. Basically, you're going to need, this is, again, based on a 200 meter nursery. You'll need 4 of the big expanded polyester trays. Each one's going to take up 1 meter. You'll need 4 of the 50 meter sowing containers, which will each take up 20 meters. I guess they cover 50 meters, though. And then you'll need 4 of the big plastic sheets that are 100 meters that equal 50 meters of greenhouse, but they only take up 1 meter because they're rolled up. I guess that's a plastic sheet you put underneath, and then the other half you put on top. So this is kind of confusing, but it's the way it works out. If you're doing 100 meter, then you'd only need 2, 2, and 2. If you're doing 50 meter, you need 1, 1, and 1. But you can't plant anything unless you have this equipment in the greenhouse. If you have too much, it's going to limit how much you can plant in the greenhouse. But you can see right now with lettuce, surface area used is 200 meters of plants. So I'm basically using every square meter in this greenhouse. Each day, once I've planted the seedlings, like these lettuce that I've started here, go to the action button, And you'll have to do a number of spray treatments until you get down here and you're ready to harvest eventually. And it doesn't take that long. I planted these on 6th July. They'll be ready on, prepare them on the 6th of August. So, but you have to do these little treatments, so treat it. This one's done for the day. I'm going to go into my cauliflower that I got going. We'll check that. And you don't have to do 200 meters of one plant. I have sometimes split these up where I've got 100 of cauliflower, 50 of broccoli, and 50 of Brussels sprouts. It's just what you need, basically. Oh, these ones are ready. Okay, so I'm basically here. I'm going to go ahead and put these in my warehouse. Since I've treated it every day, these are 3-star quality. Prepare my plants. Those ones are done. I'll skip the greenhouse. Actually, we'll go ahead and do this one. This one's ready to plant. I've already picked up seeds, so I'm going to start a new batch. Because I have everything, and it's 88 meters of equipment in there, I am able to plant the entirety of this greenhouse. The only thing this month that I can do is lettuce, which is actually what I want to do, but you'll see that you have other things you can grow in here. Nice photographs that they have, too. This is also where you'll do tobacco if you tobacco farm. Got to go up here. I want 200 meters and say okay. And now I could do my lettuce, and I want to sow this. The seeds are cheap for this. They're really, this 400,000 seeds cost me like 960 euros or whatever, 1,000 or 1,200. It's very cheap. That's the nice thing. Getting started in market gardening is not particularly expensive. All right, so we're going to sow this. So that's done. Tomorrow, on the 1st of August, I will come back and have to treat it. So you check these every day for what you need to get done. And now the last one is my broccoli. See what I need to do on this. And yeah, these are ready to harvest. So now I got these. I can throw them in my warehouse. And this one is done. I can go back now since these are done. One of the things I'll have to do if I went back up here to this cauliflower, now that it's all harvested and everything's out of here, you've got to throw away these. The polystyrene trays you cannot reuse, so they get thrown away. The plastic sheeting, you'll throw those away, and you have to get more. The sewing containers you can use over and over and over. So don't throw those away, or you'll just be spending money on them. Again, these are very cheap on the market. To actually buy these, you'll go to the cooperative. A little more difficult to find. It's under static equipment. So search the static equipment. And you go down to right here, the expanded polystyrene trays. You'll get this top one. Like I said, you'll need, I would need 4 of those to put in there. You can load all these on the same trailer, so I could get 4 of these. Or I could get 8 of them, since I'm going to need them for 2 of my greenhouses. And then I could get 8 of these, and then I would dump 4 in each one. And you can bring it all back as one load. I'll do that later. Don't want to bore you with that phase of it, since we're in a tutorial. The one thing I typically do, though, is I'm just kind of anal retentive about this. I often change the names of my greenhouses for what I'm doing, so I know what the heck I got going on in there. So like this one, I'm going to make it lettuce. And we'll save that name. And then the broccoli I've finished, I've harvested. I know I need to actually work it, so I'm going to change it just to its default greenhouse name. Same for the cauliflower. They're done. Okay. There you go. That's basically the end of phase 1. And now we're going to go to the fun part, or one of the fun parts, phase 2, the market gardening. So I've showed you all these gardens I've got, which is, what do I got here? I think I've got a total of like 96,000 total meters. One of the things I do is rather than scroll through these, anything with a green dot can be worked. It's easier to go to plots to work. So this is everything I can work for the day. Not everything's going to harvest. There's some of these, like this one, this muskmelon's at 45%. That's probably just going to need a treatment. Likewise for the Brussels sprouts, sometimes you'll have to hill things up, sometimes you'll have to till. So it's not always treating everything. To not bore you, I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera. Actually, I'll just do one as a demonstration, and then the rest of them I'll do off camera. Let's go ahead and do these garlic. These I harvest from 7 July, so this is the first day I can harvest it, and it's going to go for a week. Every day for 7 days I can harvest. And one of the things you want to do so that you don't have too much, you need to plan. I know that on harvesting these I have a week's window. So I don't want to plant like 2 garlics 2 days in a row because I'll end up with garlic coming out my ears. You'll only sell so much at the markets. So it's best to, like, if I planted this one on 7 November, I should try and plant the next one on 7 December if you can plant at that time. So that way you don't have any overlap and you're constantly harvesting. But you are limited to what you can do, you know, what you can plant each month. You can't plant everything every month. So we're going to go ahead and harvest this. You do need some specialized equipment. Most of it is pretty inexpensive. I have a garlic harvester. Yes, there's a garlic harvester in the game, made just for that purpose. And you generally use small tractors. This 75 horsepower is about the biggest thing you'll use in here. In case you were wondering about some of you'll see the little 50 and 60 horsepower tractors. Those are usually used in orchards and in market gardens. So, because this piece of equipment only requires 50 horsepower. Calculate the AP. Now, I have Palex boxes in my warehouse. You'll need enough of those to store your goods, same that you do in potato farming. I'm going to calculate the APs on this and then harvest it. It's going to cost me 10 APs. And the APs, they're not your APs. Let's talk about that for a moment. You actually have personnel. You have to have a head of gardens. You get APs for them, like 22 APs. And you have to have a team leader, and you have to have an accountant, I guess, to manage your accounts, but you use his APs too. And then you hire workers. If you're familiar with the winery activity on SimAgri, it's similar to that where you hire employees. Not all these employees, if I click on them, some of them are permanent, this undefined duration, he's permanent. They all have stats for what makes them, you know, what they're good at and whatever. Some of these are not permanent. Some of them, let's see if I can find, I've got another undefined duration. Some of these are just seasonal workers. I'm trying to find one that's seasonal worker. I think I have 3 seasonal workers. Yeah, this guy's for 3 months. I'm in a busy season right now, a lot of harvesting, a lot of planting, so I need extra APs to get stuff done. So I basically went up here and you hire personnel and you choose workers, and you can sort them, you sort them by total. And I could hire somebody for, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Now, the higher they are in their total, they tend to not like to be only hired for a short duration. So they'll refuse. If the lower ones here, they'll take any work you give them. So if these guys are down at like 314, you say, hey, I'm hiring you for 1 month. You'll say, okay, fine. You got to pay them 10% more. But you will, they will just leave at the end of that time, and you won't be paying them over the winter when you're not doing as much work. These people also, at a certain age, like with your head of gardens, for example, you see how they have an age here? They do improve over time. So sometimes when you hire them, it's better to hire, if I were actually sorting these by total when I'm setting up my market garden, I might say, oh, and this guy actually is pretty good, 400, and he's only 38 years old. This guy's 44 years old, and he's well below that at 369. He would not be a good investment. These guys do age, and every year they will, and at 60, they will retire. You'll wake up one day and go, wait a minute, I don't have a head of gardens anymore. Well, the guy actually retires in the game. So they'll be gone one day, and you will have to replace them. But every year they work, their stats are recalculated, and they get a little better and a little better every year. And so that's kind of something to look forward to the more you do this. So anyway, I'm going to go back to my garden part, and I'm going to do this off camera so that you don't have to sit and watch me harvest and treat every plot, and then we'll see you on the flip side. All right, so back from doing all that work, everything's done. You see here that I've clicked on the plots to work. I've got nothing left to work. I do have 4 gardens that are available, and good timing on my part. I kind of planned it well. My muskmelon, which are in a greenhouse, I had it to where they last day of harvest was today, so I was allowed to put that back fallow basically, and I now have a greenhouse. My plan is to put strawberries in there as part of phase 2 here, the gardens, but I'm not going to do it quite yet. We'll get back to that, so I'm going to go to phase 3 and then we'll come back to that. I told you about greenhouses, how they're different on the gardens. So we'll actually do that as a little test study. And one of the reasons I'm coming back to this, I usually want to make sure I package all my goods in phase 3 before I do any other work on these empty plots, because I only have so many APs and I don't want to hire another farmhand. So I'm going to go ahead and you go to buildings. You have some different buildings here. I have cold rooms. You can probably get by with fewer cold rooms. I like everything to be at its optimal temperature. You can change these temperatures based on what's in it. You also have a dry storage cold room, just a warehouse type thing, or a storage room. You'll see in some of these, if I go back to the cold room though, I don't know if any of these have anything in them. Let's see. Yeah, these do. These have expired, the corn salad. You have a little bit left sometimes, and that's okay. You end up having to chuck these. They don't take up any room when they're expired. But if you have things in the temperatures too far off, overnight they will go bad. So best to have your cold rooms set up at the same temperatures as the harvest that you're going to put in them. You don't really need, these don't need to be big. Don't make the mistake of making these 1,000 meters. 50 has generally been just fine for mine so far, and I've got a fairly decent sized market gardening with 100,000 square meters. It's, you know, it's no point in having massively huge cold rooms, because these rarely get, once I get them filled here, we'll show you what we actually got left. So right now I've got a package. You're going to go to control panel. We'll get back to this heating system in a moment, but you're going to go to the packaging station. Pretty simple. Your packaging station, you just put stuff. You're still continuing to use all your worker APs. These go into dry storage. These are like the only two things, garlic and pickles. They just get stored at room temperature, so they go into the storage room. Pack and store. Each one of these, they have a certain temperature that they like. Now, the celery is at 0.5 degrees Celsius. I do have a cold room for that, so those are going in there. Pack and store. And then, what do I got? The courgette is 8 degree, and the muskmelon is 8 degree. So those are both going to go in the 8 degree house, or 8 degree cold room, I guess. Let's take all these 4s. You got to keep an eye on your APs. I should have enough. I didn't have a lot of heavy workload. Some of the things you harvest take a lot more APs, like leeks and radishes. They take a lot more APs to work them, but I don't have any of those going right now. So all these 4 degree things, I've checked all those. I can put them in a 4 degree room. And then we'll go ahead and get my 1 3 degree thing here, which is the corn salad. And, oh, I have that, I have it set at 0. I'm going to change that to 3 degrees in a minute. But we can store it. Nothing's going to happen to it immediately. Anything bad tends to happen overnight. These will go into 2 degree. So now everything's packaged. That's good. And I have 112 APs left. Let's go into our cold rooms, and this one on the bottom actually needed to be 3 degrees. So I'm going to change that to 3 degrees. All right, so that's at 3 Celsius. Everything's stored at its optimal. I have lots of stuff harvested. You can see that even this one, that's my biggest one. It's only taken up 15 square meters. So these cold rooms, they don't have to be, they probably don't even need to be this big. So even though you could build one to like 1,000 meters or whatever, you don't need that. There's just no way you'll ever need that. It's just a way to accidentally waste your money. So now we're ready to jump back to phase 2 just to finish up, because since I have some extra APs left, I want to do some work in the greenhouse. Here's how greenhouses are different. One of the things you'll see here, let's look at my control panel. You have a heating system. This heating system, when you build it, you can choose between wood chips, which you get from your hedges, or you can, if you're planting hedges, or you can use your VBF fuel. I use wood chips, so this thing's humming along. I've got lots of wood chips, which you can also use as litter. I will do a tutorial on the wood chips one day, because it's a neat little side activity. I can fill these. I can put more in it. It has plenty right now, so it's humming along. It can produce like 3,000 kilowatt hours, so it's fine. It's heating my greenhouses. And, you know, I'm in the middle of summer right now. So, or yeah, definitely the middle of summer. It's plenty sunny. It's plenty warm. We're in the 30s, but it will get cold in the winter. And that's where you'll need your heating to kick in. So I'm going to take this greenhouse here. My plan is to make this, and it was set up for muskmelon, so it's set at 29. But I'm going to actually be doing strawberries in it. We're going to move down here. I'm going to grab these strawberries. I already have the seeds for it. You only got 2 months that you can do strawberries. If I fly over here, you get some information about them, if I can keep my mouse on the thing. The optimal temperature is 15 Celsius to 18 Celsius. So it is a little warm now for first planting, but these are the only months you can plant in. But in the winter, when it gets down, you know, to freezing, they aren't going to grow. They're just going to kind of sit there stagnant. Their vegetative temperature is at minus 15 Celsius. They won't grow at all. They won't go up at all. But you want them to be growing even over the winter, because you won't harvest these. Tend to do it. You've got 21-day duration on the harvest, but it's going to take them 77 days to grow. So that's almost an entire year before these things are going to be ready. But they're a good money maker, and I want them to be ideally as big as they possibly can be. So since the optimal temperature is 15 to 18 Celsius, I'm probably going to put that up more towards the 18 side to get it as close to 100% as I can when it's ready for harvest. So we're going to select strawberries. One of the first things I'm going to do is go ahead and set this temperature, set my thermostat. So these are actually heated greenhouses. I'm going to go with 17.8 and say OK on that. And I'm not sure if I have to actually shut it down to change it, kind of like the oil works where you have to shut things down to change it. But I'm going to go ahead and shut down and then start running again. All right, there you go. So 17.8. That's what I'm going to keep this greenhouse at. So that's how these really differs from your farm greenhouses. You actually have a heating system in these things. So we're going to fertilize it, calculate the number of APs, do the work, and we'll go ahead and plow it, earth it up, and sow it. But I need APs for this. This is why I basically waited until I packaged everything before I started working any of my empty plots. Sometimes you won't be able to complete it. This I have to complete today. I would hire someone, because this is the last day I can plant strawberries. And everybody loves strawberries. Okay, I'm going to do those. I could do like a whole 10,000 meters with these, but this is only like 2,500, I believe. And we'll go ahead and plant these. And boom, they're planted. We've got the heating going. It is currently off because the temperature is like 30 degrees out, so 17.8. It's not going to sit there and burn up fuel. You're basically going to add a nutrient supply one time, and then you're just going to wait till June of next year. But all of June, July, and September, I'm going to have strawberries, and they are a good seller. They make you really good money. So I'm basically done there. I've done phase 1. I've done phase 2. I've done phase 3. It's time to take stuff to market. So let's go up here, and we're going to go to the market wholesale dealer. All right. First, you got to load. Gosh, I always use this big van. I got a 19-ton van that I use for this. I also using a cheese dairy. I'm phasing out of that because I'm saving my milk for our co-op's dairy. But there's still some here. If you're doing an artisanal cheese dairy, you can take it to market. If you're doing an industrial, you can take it to the wholesale dealers. Eggs, you cannot take to the wholesale dealers, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. One would think that you could take your eggs to the wholesale dealer. But no, only to market. So I'm going to load all my cheese, and then I want to load all my veggies. And that's only 6,500 kilos. Now, normally I have a lot more because there are things that, these garlics have 14 days. Once in a while on a market, particularly the more you do markets, you will get a boom market where people panic buy or something. And it happens once in a blue moon, once a week maybe. And it seems to be more frequent with the more experience that you get with them. Because it does keep track of how many times you've been to a market. I had a mad rush on the first one I went to yesterday. They bought everything I had. Everything that was loaded on the truck. 19 tons of stuff sold at one market. It was $45,000, so 45,000 euros was my receipts. It was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if that's by design. I think it is because it's happened numerous times, and it happens with greater frequency the more I go to these markets. I'm going to load half my eggs here. Let's see, that gets me up to 17,000, so that's good. I still have some room, so I'm going to go ahead and load that. And then I'm going to go ahead and I still got some room, so I'm going to put in the rest of these eggs. That's 1,500 on the large eggs. All right, so that's good. That's loaded. My van is pretty full. I don't have a lot of room left there. We're going to go to a market now. You have two choices. I'm going to show you the wholesale dealer. That's my last resort. They don't give you a very good price, but they'll buy almost everything, especially if you look at Hyper Plus here. If I click on Hyper Plus, that's the one I've kind of chosen that I always go to. I've been there 128 times. Okay, so I've gotten a good reputation there. Usually, if I go to sell stuff there, they buy virtually everything on my van. But they're not paying as much. It's a fraction of the price. I don't know if it's 10 cents on the dollar, as it were, or if it's 20%, but it's just a good way to get rid of stuff if it's going to go bad in a day. Just sell it off. But first and foremost, I want to actually sell to the markets because that's where the good money is. So let's go back to the load. When you first start this activity, you have to buy this equipment, like a cold case and an awning and a selling counter. It's not expensive. It's like 2,500 euros. It'll eventually wear out and you have to replace it. All right, so my van is loaded. We're going to sell. We're going to go to market. 4 times a day this rotates around. These ones are basically on the SimAgri clock from 6 in the morning till 10 in the morning, and then 10 until 2, and so on. These ones with check marks, I've paid a fee that lasts a year that you can access the market. Some of these are better than others. This rather, it tells you what rather size it is. It's rather small or rather average or rather large. The customers, whether they're poor or you're better off or very well off. And those kind of things are important because, large means you should theoretically sell more. For as far as what they seem to be economically off, the ones that are very low income will tend to buy the lower end things that don't necessarily sell as well, like the corn salad, the cheap greens, basically. The lettuce will be a big seller. But the more expensive fruits or vegetables won't tend to sell that well there. So ideally, middle is usually pretty good. High end is usually pretty good, especially if you're growing a lot of higher end stuff. You'll also notice that what these markets favor. A lot of these, I shoot for the ones that have a strong consumption of vegetables because I only have like one orchard that I'm doing. I'm mainly growing vegetables. So I want those to be 3 carrots rating. Whereas the fruit, if you were doing like a lot of orchards, you would look for the ones that have a 3 apple rating. Now you can do 4 of these a SimAgri day. If you don't know, the SimAgri calendar is, of course, just 7 days in a month, the 1st through the 7th. That helps compress the calendar. Otherwise, you'd be waiting forever to do things. But it's also a little unrealistic. So for some activities, one of them being dairy, you can milk cows 4 times a day. That way, in a 7-day month, you do it 28 times, which is more accurate because you'd actually milk a cow every day of the month. You don't actually milk them 4 times a day. It's like accounting for 4 days. Same thing with the markets. You can go to 4 markets a day so that in a SimAgri month from July 1 to 7, I could go to 28 markets. Now, there's a number of these that I favor early in the day here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually any of these 3-star carrots or 3 carat ratings, I'm going to do those. So I'm going to go to this. You have some factors that go into it. One of them is the weather. It's a nice day. These should be good markets. Nobody has set up any stalls here today. That's good. If another player had gotten there first, your sales wouldn't be as good. You'd still sell, but it would be better if nobody else has been there. Okay, early bird gets the worm, so get on these right when these markets open if you can. I've been to this market 9 times. The more often you come on a market, the more regular customers you will have. And it does, some of these that I've been to a lot of times, they sell really well. So let's choose my light commercial van, which is, of course, this one. The cheese, I just go kind of a middle price because I'm just phasing these out anyway, so I'll just do 10. You can do it between a penny and 20 euros per kilo. I'll just do it at 10 euros. The eggs, I go with their default. Now, the thing about eggs, a lot of people just sell their eggs straight out to SimAgri. You're getting 7 cents, basically, 0.07 euros. You're getting 0.3, so you're getting 4 times as much if you sell some at the market. So sell as many as you can at the market. These large will only get you 6 cents selling to SimAgri, but 24 cents if you sell them at the market. And if you have one of those boom days and they buy them all, you make a fortune off these things. The vegetables just have a fixed price based on the quality of what you got. You can spend however long you want there. I always go for the most. Spend 4 hours, use 4 APs. Let's sell as much as we can. So let's sell all this. And this is, I just enjoy looking at what sells and whatever. Lettuce, hot seller. Corn salad, almost always a kind of a low seller. That's why I end up throwing some of it out. Pickles, I've noticed, has been the same way. They're not a huge seller. Celery's okay. Look at tomatoes. Tomatoes are a money maker. That's ridiculous. That's 1,100 kilograms of tomatoes I sold. That is a third of the money I took in on that market. So it's kind of fun looking at all these, seeing how many eggs I did. There's 3,500 eggs. That made me 1,000, basically, whereas I would have only gotten, 250 if I sold those to SimAgri. And the cheese makes you a little money, so that's kind of nice. So I've done one market. Let's just do the other couple here. And after the third one, I'll decide whether I want to go to the wholesale dealer or not. There's some factors that go into that. And again, we'll choose my van. We're going to put 4 hours on this and go to this market and sell my product. Another nice sale. We're getting another 1,400 kilos of tomatoes. There are a couple things: tomatoes, strawberries, lettuce. Think about what you like to eat. Maybe you don't buy zucchini that often. You may not buy cucumbers that often, but certainly things like tomatoes, people buy a lot of. Lettuce, people buy a lot of. When I get to the strawberries, people buy a lot of those. So it's going to be kind of naturally along the lines of what the consumer actually buys. And you can check at any time what you got left on the van. You can go up here to unload. Oh, no light commercial van loaded. Wow, really? Did I sell out? I couldn't have sold. I probably sold out. What do I got left here? Yes, I did. So that was kind of a boom market, I guess. I'll have to go back and look at the video on that. They basically cleared me out. They wiped out what I got on there. But I still got eggs left. So let's go here and load what I can. Hey, I got another 18 kilos. Load the light commercial van, and I might as well just sell whatever I can. Oops, can't do it at the wholesale dealer. Market. Go to these other 2 markets and go ahead and spend 4 hours there. This is just gravy money at this point, because that's another 1,200 eggs. Again, 360. I would have only got 90 by selling them straight to SimAgri. And we'll do a 4th market because I can't take these to the wholesale dealer. It's a shame. I kind of want to show you. The wholesale dealer works kind of the same. But normally I would go through my stuff, and whatever's going to expire in 1 or 2 days, that's what I would take to the market. I would unload everything else, put it back in cold storage. That way I can try and sell it at the higher price later. So if it had 3, 4, 5, 10 days left before it expired, I would just put it back in storage and try and sell it the next day. So one last market for the day. Choose a light commercial van, of course. We're going to try and sell whatever eggs we can. And that's fine. Sold another 2,000 eggs. So basically got 600 out of it. Would have only got 150 from SimAgri. So at this point now, we'll unload the van, and then we'll quickly go back to the farm and just sell off the eggs. All right. So there are nothing left on that. Go to my farm. We'll go ahead to the livestock, my production, the eggs. And wait a minute. Did I actually unload it? Let's take a peek. We want to unload. Did I unload? Messed up here. I think I left something on there. Oh, yes, I needed to click this box to unload it. Okay, unload. There you go. Now the van's empty. You get the message that no light commercial van is loaded. All right, now we'll go back to the farm. I'm going to go up here and my production eggs and get rid of the eggs. Now I will sell this for another 18,000. And now basically my market day is done. I've done everything. If I look at the breakdown of my accounts, it should show me that, yeah, see, I had that another huge one right there. The market receipts, mad rush on that one. They bought everything, 55,000 euros in one shot. The first market was 6,000, and then I just sold some eggs after that. So, I mean, I got 62,000 out of those markets today, then just sold off my eggs for another 18. So, made 80,000 off that. And that basically finishes my market day. Hope you found some of that interesting. Hope you found it a little helpful if you were trying to do market gardening and struggling with it a bit or didn't understand it. Don't know if there's anything else I need to explain in it. We went over the gardens, we went over the equipment, and again, there is a lot of specialized equipment that you won't use anywhere else. You'll have a tiny plow and tillers, you have tiny rotary cultivator, tiny fertilizer spreaders. Everything here is low horsepower. There's some specials. You've got a hiller, you've got a garden seeder, a gardening planter. These are all very specialized things. Garden sprayer, 30 horsepower. So this is where you actually wouldn't mind having like a 50 horsepower tractor for some of this and save the fuel. But you have to have special harvesters for the leek and the garlic, both good money makers. And garlic, when you first harvest it, has 14 days to sell it. So you can just keep, if it doesn't sell today, you keep taking it for 2 weeks to the market. And you'll eventually sell it. You have to have a small telescopic handler that's under 70 horsepower. So everything here is kind of miniaturized. It's basically your mom and pop kind of farmer's market type operation, though you do have some employees. Okay, one other thing, if you're on the expert server, they will limit you, since everything there is to be a challenge. I believe you can only hire 5 workers. So don't think I'm going to buy a bazillion plots and, and make money that way just by getting all the extra workers. One thing you'll see here is you actually buy plots. They are not expensive. I mean, that's 7,000 meter plot. That's a big plot. I would only put stuff on there that were hot sellers, but it's 2,000. These do not cost a lot. These are the big ones. Some of these small ones you'll pay a few $100s for. So it's kind of easy to get into. If you don't have a lot of money, it's kind of an easy thing to get into. It does take some time to build up going to the markets over and over and over. You may have some frustrating days where you don't sell a lot. Rainy days, you won't sell a lot. On the whole, there are easier ways to make money in SimAgri than doing market gardening. But because of the diversity of products that you grow and the fact that it's kind of a 4-step process, it makes it a lot more fun than most of the other activities. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you next time. And until then, ciao.